G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. I really do appreciate it. Yes, this is the greatest sport in the world. This is rugby. This is Six Nations. And this is the biggest loss in the history of England rugby at home. Yes, I have an England jersey. And yes, I'm a big Eddie Jones fan. And I have an England jersey because I really want Eddie Jones to win the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Because yes, I do respect Eddie Jones, despite all the jokes I say about him. Sir Eddie, right? I do respect him. And I do think that the English media treated him really unfairly. Sir Woodward, the leader of anti-Eddie club, got his wish, got Eddie Jones fired unfairly. I thought the November test wasn't exactly Eddie Jones' fault. His hands were tight. The key players that he needed came back from injury or still injured. And looking back, a draw against the All Blacks look like a Christmas morning now, doesn't it? Losing to the world champions, the Springboks, isn't really that bad now. Looking back at it now, right? You'd rather have a close loss than getting flogged 53 points to 10, right? Yeah. So I feel bad for Bothwick, to be honest. Bothwick came into this role. England spent millions of dollars getting rid of Eddie Jones and buying up Bothwick's contract at the Tigers. And then he's just left with all this media on his back. That first game he came out with, what was it? The Owen Farrell at 12 and Marcus Smith at 10. He got smashed in the media the next week, right? Then he lost to Scotland. He got smashed. Oh, same thing as Eddie. Oh my God, horrendous. Do something different. Sir Woodward has to approve your selections. Otherwise, he's going to smash you. And he did approve this one, by the way. Sir Woodward approved the selections for tonight. He thought this was going to win the game for England. Sir Woodward thought this was going to happen, was going to work, right? And yeah, it's what I saw tonight from the England team. It's really interesting, right? There was a lot of talk about how they, this like the England Premiership style is really exciting to watch. They should do that in England rugby, and it's something that experienced international coaches will tell you. Even not just Eddie Jones, like Warren Gatland would have told you this, that Test rugby and club rugby is completely different. A lot of things that you can get away with at club rugby you simply can't do in Test rugby. And that's basically what we saw tonight. England tried to play a style that worked in club rugby, and under the pressure of international tests, under the defense, the speed of a tier 1 nation, the stuff that you do, you're just not gonna pull out. You're just gonna drop the ball. It's just not gonna work. And you're just going to leave holes everywhere in your defense. And you're just going to get destroyed. That's what happened. That's what happened tonight. And the French, I really, noticed something tonight as well. The French, it's really quite brilliant the way they play. And they're brilliant because they have some just unbelievable players. So a lot of international teams, including, Eddie Jones, when he was running England, play what's kind of like the zones. So you will play, you have an exit strategy out of your 22. You have a attack plan inside your half from between the 22 to the halfway point. And then you have a different attack option from a plan from the halfway to the opposition 22, how to get the ball inside the opposition 22. And then once you're inside the opposition 22, there's another plan to try to finish into a try, right? So those teams tend to play the zone style, and the French very clearly don't have a zone or like a rigid zone style that they play by. They just happy to throw the ball anywhere they see space, and everybody in the team understands this, which is why it works. So people are not expecting a box kick when they're inside the 22. They're expecting to react to a space that is available on the field, which is why the French's counterattack is so effective. It's not just one person makes a break and then everyone is he's trying to make it happen for himself. When the French makes a break, everybody in the team is prepared to follow it up. And that's what happened tonight. The French was able to counter-attack very, very successfully against England. Very, just unbelievably clinical in their counter-attack. And just really, like, England was bashing themselves against the wall. Lots of errors. And the French just went, yoink, we'll take the ball. And counter-attack straight down the other side of the field. Try time. It's just unbelievable how good this French team played tonight. Like, there were moments tonight I saw from the French team. I literally, I was like, I was speechless, right? Antoine Dupont, he was inside his own 22. He chipped the ball over the top, regathers the ball because he saw two forwards in front of him, knowing that he can outrun them. He regathers the ball. He runs a little bit as the fullback sweeps across to try to take him out. He kicks the ball down the field so perfectly that Marcus Smith scoops out the ball. He had to ground the ball in goal. And that was a 5-meter scrum for the French. So Antoine Dupont single-handedly gained 75 meters for the French team, just by his own individual vision and decision making, and just not stuck in the same mindset that I've got to do a box kick inside my own 22, right? He's happy to see the space and happy to do what he thinks, what he feels is the best way about it. And he gained 75 meters, a scrum 5 meters down from the English line. And this another similar thing happened earlier as well. The Charles Ollivon scored a try on an English, again, an English went back for a ball, a kick behind ball, and Marcus Smith gets tackled on the goal line. He released the ball into the goal zone, and Charles Ollivon just reached over the ruck and put the ball down put his hands on the ball, and it was a try. So that was a bit of a weird one. My understanding is that once the ball goes behind the try line, it's basically a free-for-all. So anybody can just try. Yeah, there's no offside line. It's basic. That's my understanding. So he can just reach over and put the ball down. That's basically what the referee kind of like said on the field. But I have to probably look into it a little bit to get the exact rule for that. But my understanding is once the ball is over the line, which is the mistake that Marcus Smith did, he released the ball because it was really close to the try line behind the goal line, and it was basically a free-for-all. And the Charles Ollivon, knowing the rules so well, just basically went over the ruck and put his hand on the ball, and it was a try. It was just, it was quite a weird situation, but just shows like the players are so switched on, and the English players were like, "What happened? That's not right." Like almost like they didn't even know the rules, right? It was just, it's just, it's like almost like the English team didn't do their homework, not knowing that was a thing. Almost, Owen Farrell was like having a discussion with the referee whether that's legal or not, and the referee's like, "Yeah, it's 100% legal," and it is what it is. So if I was to say the one good thing about England rugby, they did when they, instead of trying to do these fancy, club style, when the England just stuck to the basics, fast breakdown speed, quick decision making around the rocks, and they scored their first try. That first try they scored was, albeit in the second half, looked spectacular. Looked really, really good. Freddie's like it just looked smooth, looked clinical, and the French defense was scrambling, and then eventually a gap opened up, and Freddie Stewart just slid himself through, and it was just really easy, and it really made the French look like it looked like that England could have come back from that, but unfortunately, everything else wasn't really there for England. There were so many drop balls as well. It was raining a little bit, but still, so many drop balls. And outside of, I guess, the scrummaging, which I thought the England could have got probably more out of the scrummaging. I was surprised that the French was able to, hold on to Ellis Genge in the scrum for the most part. There was really nothing going for England. And in fact, as the game went on, England started to get more and more desperate and started to make more and more mistakes. and the French just capitalized. The English defense in the second half was just non-existent. It was like if I was to use like a boxing or MMA analogy, it was like someone's about to get knocked. Like someone is like it's like the final round. You know you're gonna lose the fight. You just go out there like trying to swing for the fences, and then you get yourself knocked out, right? Like you just randomly swinging around, hoping to hit something, hit a haymaker, and you end up getting you know clipped by a counter attack. That's basically what happened to England tonight. Absolutely destroyed. Especially like things got you almost look like the harder England tried, the worse the game went for England because the mistakes started to pile and the team started to get out of sync. The defensive line just completely in tatters, and the French really capitalized on that and thrived and showed some brilliant tries and really you know deserve this win. So let's have a look at some of the stats for this game. The French 516 run meters to England's 406. So the England did have opportunities, but they just weren't able to execute, right? I think these are some of the key stats here. Turnovers conceded 17 against England. I'm surprised the French actually conceded 14 turnovers. I thought England would have been like way ahead in turnovers because there was just so many drop balls, silly mistakes. Tackles, 118 tackles of England, 26 missed tackles, a bit on the high end. But the French, much better in defense, 116 tackles made, 19 missed tackles overall. Kicks in play, the French really dominated the kicking game. I felt Thomas Ramos, he's unbelievable. He was cutting, like destroying the defensive line, just cutting through the English defense, especially in the second half. Like like it is nothing. Especially, what I felt was amazing was that Ramos was able to identify whether kicking or attacking is the right option. Whereas the English, like Freddie Stewart, more specifically, seems to just have the concept of I got to do a certain thing in a certain place. Like it's like a zone. Like it's much more rigid than what Ramos was able to do. And what Ramos was able to achieve today was just almost like I thought it was almost like a perfect display of a fullback. Right? He attacked, found space. He scored. I think he scored a try, and they did the kicking. It completely dominated the kicking game, and he was the man of the match as well. It was just unbelievable. I thought Ramos has been great last few rounds, but this was the best performance this season for him in the Six Nations. The lineouts in terms of set piece, the English actually had a little bit of advantage. They actually managed to steal two of the French lineouts out of the 12, and actually get two tied heads against the French scrum as well. I thought the scrum was Ellis Gench did able to get in fact that was the second half. At the beginning of the test match, the scrum was quite even. In fact, I thought the French probably had a bit of advantage early in the game, but later on the pressure piled on. Ellis Gench was really able to get that little bit of advantage for England there. And finally, the penalty count, 11 against England, 12 against the French. And there were so many silly mistakes from the England as well, like kicking the ball not going out when they get a penalty. Like I think the French made the same mistake as well, but it was so much more punishing for the English team because when the French make a mistake, when the English make a mistake, the French just capitalizes that and turns that into a point. Whereas when the French make a mistake, the England just like immediately makes another mistake and give it right back. Like it was just actually quite silly. Some of the points, some parts of the game in the second half. So let's have a look at some of the stuff that happened throughout the game, right? So 1 minute into the game, immediately basically, the French scores a try, and this was just like what's his name? Charles Ollivon. I thought he was really rusty at the beginning of the season. In fact, because he had a long-term like injury to his leg, and in fact, I thought he was probably shouldn't be the number 7 due to his performances early in the season. But today, he is just unbelievable. Like since the last maybe game, he's just really starting to get into that rhythm. And this game is just unbelievable. The performance that he put on display tonight. So this is the first try. Charles Sullivan gets the ball. Again, just outside zone 22, identifying space. He managed to make a half break, pops the ball out to a support player. I think it was Flamont, which is the lock. Thibault Flament. I think it's Thibault Flament. Is that his name? Yeah, Thibault Flament. He pops Flamont, pops the ball to him, and then Flamont runs down the field, and then he pops down to Demortier, and Demortier finds more space and pops it another pass to what's his name? Thomas Ramos, and Ramos goes in for a try 1 minute into the game. And this was from a counter attack inside their own half. Immediately, the French showed that immediately the French is showing that they're a completely different level from the English team. And just yeah, like how like the locks, the two locks, the 7 and the lock was able to work so perfectly together, and then create the space that's needed for the two backs to score the try. It was just beautiful rugby on display here. Anyway, 10 minutes into the game, England just completely looking like they're getting overwhelmed, gives away a penalty. France kicks the 3, 10 points to nil already, 10 minutes in. 15 minutes in, the French had a scrum 25 minutes in, the French had a scrum inside the English half, and basically on the 22-meter line. And this scrum was a good scrum. The French scrum actually went forward, and it rotated towards the blind side. The ball pops out. The number 8 scoops it up on the French team, runs down the blind side, and then I think it was offload to his inside player, and then a couple passes later, Flament, the big lock that set up the first try, that involved in the first try, gets the ball, crashes through for the second try for the French. 25 minutes into the game, 17 points to nil already. A few minutes later, England gets a penalty. They kick for 3. So yeah, 2 tries behind it, gets 3 points on the ball, 3 points to 17, just to make it look a tiny bit better, right? Just to get that 0 off the scoreboard basically. And then the game kept on just getting worse for England. Drop balls. They started raining at this point, and it was just silly mistakes left and right, and really England was not able to mount to any sort of threat to the French team for the most part of the first half. And then just before halftime, there was another penalty on 35 minutes into the game. French kicks that, so the scoreboard goes up to 20 points to 3 just before halftime already. And then on the 40-minute mark, just like on the dot, as the clock ticks over to red, the French was again pounding the English try line, and then Charles Ollivon crashes over, just easy as that. Just Bruce Strings forced himself through for the third try for the French. Before halftime scoreboard, 27 points to 3 already to the French. Second half starts. England did come out immediately with a bit more energy. They had opportunity to kick 3. They turned them down. They went for, instead of a line out, they went for a scrum. I know the scrum is slight more advantage for England, but I thought this was a stupid decision. But anyway, they had a scrum. They had another penalty, and then Marcus Smith did a crossfield kick, and it looks almost like the English winger. Who was it? The new guy. Not Watson. Max Malins. Look at Max Malins grounded the ball as he landed, but the TMO said that he didn't really have control of the ball. Looks like he barely touched it, and then so that was the missed opportunity. But it did look like England was picking up a bit of speed. So 5 minutes into the second half, Owen Farrell gets put on the field. I have no idea. I thought Owen Farrell was going to be on as 10, but no, Marcus Smith was still on, and then who was his name? Lawrence. Ollie Lawrence. Is Ollie Lawrence? Ollie? Ollie Lawrence was still on the field. So Owen Farrell replaced Henry Slade. So I think he went to 12 and Lawrence went to 13, because I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what happened. So Ollie Lawrence basically went to 13 and Owen Farrell went to 12. So you had that combo where Marcus at 10 and Owen Farrell at 12 again. So yeah, anyway, I don't know what's going on here. But for a bit when Owen came on, it did look really good. You literally had 2 playmakers, choosing which side the attack wants to go. Was looking really fluid, really quick breakdowns. And then immediately England was going forward. And then about 12 phases later, I think 12 or 13 phases later, Freddie Stewart gets the ball, he crashes over, for England's first try. And it was looking like England could make a comeback. 10 points to 27 because this period of the rugby that English played, just simple, fast, quick rugby, looked really, really, really good. But that didn't last, very long. Like that basically stopped as soon as the try was scored. England again was trying to go for scrum dominance for some reason. Like I don't know what they're trying to do when they're trying to play a fast-paced game, but then they opt in for this scrummaging when they get a penalty. But anyway, so England did get a scrum penalty here, and they failed to find touch. So anyway, 56 minutes into the game, the French get some really super fast breakdown speed, and I think it was, what's his name, was able to, again, this was just in around the halfway point, and then Antoine Dupont chips ball over the top. Intermac runs up, he jumps up in the air, right? There was 4 English players around him. There was 2 literally on him, and there was 2 that was covering the support runner, which is Flamand. He taps the ball back, so it's really like you can tell that the players are different level, right? Intermac, realizing the situation and realizes that he's not going to be able to catch the ball, so all he want to do is get the ball to Flamand, who was running behind him in support. Whereas both the English players were trying to catch the ball. So there's 3 people going for the ball, 2 of them were English, and both the English players were trying to catch him. In fact, I do think they collided into each other. They literally like collided into each other a little bit, your own teammates. Whereas the French player, realizing that no one's gonna get the ball, so he just wanted to get the ball out of the air, right? So he managed to pat the ball back to Flamand. Flamand catches the ball. 2 English players couldn't tackle him. He runs in for a try. 56 minutes into the second half. Suddenly, scoreboard is 32 points to 10. 59 minutes into the game, Ramos, again, he gets the ball from a poorly kicked English kick, and then instead of kicking back, he saw a couple forwards in front of him, just completely cut himself through, and then he runs down the field again, sees space behind, he chips the ball behind. Marcus Smith runs back, he catches the ball really close to his own try line. He gets pushed back. The French tries to push him back into his goal area. He stops just before the try line, and he releases the ball into the goal. And Charles Ollivon sees this, reaches over the ruck, puts the ball down on the ground. English were protesting, and the referee basically said, yeah, this was balls over the try line. It's free for all, and Ollivon had his hand on it, and it's a try. So he's just getting silly at this point. 41 points to 10, and at this point, 20 minutes left. You think that, the French probably not going to score a try anymore, because usually you're so far ahead already. The England's probably just going to finish off the game with a try as a consolation try, maybe 2 consolation tries, and that's generally what happens when the scoreboard is so far ahead. But no, the French kept on pushing. England was swinging for the fences, and the French just, picking their shots, right? 64 minutes in, Dupont gets the ball. Again, okay, this is what I was talking about. He was inside his own 22, chipped over the top, recovers his own chip, and then grabber kicks the ball down the field, and the ball lands perfectly outside of the try line. Marcus Smith scoops it up, and he has to put the ball in goal, and resulting in a French 5-meter scrum, right? And then, a few minutes later, 71 minutes into the game, again, it was just unbelievable. England was inside the French half. The French was England was inside the French half, and another high ball to the French. It was just poorly kicked. And once again, what's his name? Gael Fiku gets the ball. He sees space out wide, and this was halfway. He does a crossfield kick straight to Damien Penaud on the wing. He catches the ball, runs down 50 meters down the sideline for another French try. 48 points to 10. And surely, at this point, 71 minutes in, you thought, that's it. That's the last try. The French are going to score. Nope. 3 minutes later, once again, this is just getting silly, right? The French had a penalty. They try to go kick the ball out. Ramos tried to kick the ball out for the line out, right? He misses touch. So Freddie Stewart gets the ball, right? You're like, okay, England's going to get a chance back now. Freddie Stewart gets the ball. He runs out of his own 22-meter line, and he punts the ball down the field, and the ball went out on the full. Yeah. So the French gets the throw in just outside the England 22. After missing touch for a penalty. Like, it's just silly. It's just silly, right? And sure enough, this gets even more more ridiculous. The French gets the ball from this line out. They get the ball, just literally just spread that, like, nice little spread the ball out wide. Nice little loop play center field, and then a long pass out wide. Damien Pendle on the win again, gets the ball untouched, runs in for what was it? 7th try for the evening. And yeah, final score 53 points to 10. Last minute of the match, right? England was trying desperately get a consolation try in the dying minutes of the game. They were pounding the French try line. And, you know, a lot of the times, a team will give away a try here. You know, like, we've seen this again and again and again. You're winning by so much, there's really not that much point to hold on for a try. Just let them score and end the game. But the French did not let up. They held the English attack again, like, numerous times in the dying minutes, holding the ball up from grounding, and then eventually the French got a penalty at the breakdown. They just ended the game with a perfect, you know, without even giving England a consolation try. Extremely impressive. So yeah, it is what it is. You know, millions of dollars down the drain for England rugby, getting rid of Eddie Jones, and then another, you know, millions of dollars down the drain, hiring Borthwick. At this point, they might as well just get Woodward back as the coach, right? Because, you know, you wanted an English coach, you got an English coach, that still hasn't worked, right? You know, Woodward seems to know what works. You know, to shut him up, you might as well just get him in, right? I mean, just a thought. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I gotta go to bed. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and cheers.